the Cardinals are the best team in the league, and a lot of it has to do with their secondary being pretty good, and Byron Murphy really taking the step that, he needed to take, and all the aspects of their team is elite right now. Really, their pass rush is good, their run defense is pretty good, their pass defense is all right. Like, their running game is really good, their passing game is super strong.
They were running the ball really well.
And James Conner was exactly what I hoped he would be, and the thing they were kind of missing last year. Belichick broke them last year. They had that horrible game versus the Patriots, and then ever since then, teams just played them in dime, and they had no one to run over the light boxes. Now they have James Conner, and they added Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt, who they didn't have last year, and their whole secondary has kind of taken a jump. They're great. They're fantastic.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Bladen Kirk, joined as always by the two greatest co-hosts, and I guess I should say one of the best dressed co-hosts I've ever seen, Theo Ash and Matthew Sponhour. Theo, you're wearing a suit today.
I had to dress up for the Big Ben funeral. It was very sad. It was very somber occurrence as he missed many wide open touchdowns against the Packers today. I was in attendance as a Packer fan watching it all happen, and I put on my suit just to pay some respects at watching the death of this career.
As always, we are still not as always, but as of recently, we are still doing that jersey giveaway, giving away 2 jerseys. We're going to be announcing it on Friday's episode, and we're picking 2 winners. So if you haven't, make sure you head over to Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review with your Twitter, IG, or TikTok handle included. And again, we will pick the winners for Friday's episode. And make sure you go follow us on TikTok at Stay Hot Pod for some great content there.
So to be clear, since we record Friday's episode Thursday night, you got to have, all right, so you got to have it in by like 10 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, we'll say.
Yeah, 10:30 p.m. Eastern on Thursday is when we record, 7:30 p.m. Pacific. So that is your deadline, Thursday night. And but I didn't ask how you guys are doing today. We talked about how Theo's dressed, but how
you did ask. Yes, you did.
I did ask?
I'm doing great.
Yes, and then you said, how are you doing? Theo's wearing a suit. Big Ben funeral.
Oh.
Cincy.
I didn't get how you guys were doing. I didn't get a response because I went into how you're dressed, Theo. So how
are you doing, Bladen?
How do you feel about the Browns? Well, let's get into week 4.
Listen.
Baker Mayfield
every time the Browns win, I'm doing good. Right?
Yes.
But people are like, oh, but Baker. But here's the thing. I'm not a Baker fan. I have a Baker jersey, but I'm a Browns fan.
But certainly you care about how your franchise quarterback plays. And
yes.
As far as today, he played.
But this is the worst. This is the worst that he's looked since like the Kitchens era. So like, I'm not too concerned. I feel like this won't be a regular thing.
No, he's not going to play like this every single week. He has some really great games where he doesn't seem to miss, but still concerning when this is a guy, and this is, I think, what we really wanted to talk about. Not necessarily Baker right now, but what's the play with Baker once you have to pay him big money? Because he's in that gray zone where letting him walk would be brutal, but paying him a huge contract would be brutal as well.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. You can't just get away with you can't let him walk, right? Because if you let him walk, then you have to go through and try and find another quarterback. And we know the Browns do not have a lot of a very good track record when it comes to drafting QBs.
They do not.
So I'm not going to say that they shouldn't pay him, right? They should, just for the sake of like, you have to. But if he looks so bad, like throughout the season and into the playoffs, where it's like very obvious that he's holding us back, where it feels like Jared Goff with the Rams, then at that point it's time to move on. But
he probably won't, right? This is the problem.
He won't.
This is why it's a gray zone. Baker is probably not going to make the decision easy, where he either just is like a top 5 quarterback all of a sudden, or, a bottom 30 quarterback and he stinks, I think he's going to be in that weird zone where there's some times where you're like, oh my God, he's a top 10 quarterback. And then sometimes where he can't connect with Odell.
Well,
and he slows down the offense.
Like, and the other thing is that he's in that Kirk Cousins-esque. And honestly, him and Kirk Cousins looked very similar today. Kirk Cousins missed quite a few passes himself. So I think he's kind of, in that same tier of Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan. Derek Carr is probably like the higher level of that group. I would take Derek Carr over all of those guys, but
I think that Baker, we're going on 4 years in the league now with him. And obviously he had a nice rookie year. And then he had a really bad sophomore year. Yes. And then I think most people would say he had a really good junior year or third year, I guess.
It was a nice resurgence.
But it wasn't a really good year. It was a fine year. But through about
it was a good resurgence year. It was a good year if you compare to like his sophomore year.
Through about the halfway point of last season, Baker was widely regarded as still bad. There was a stretch of games where he completed 12 passes, and then 12 passes again. He was not being asked to do much. And a lot of that was because of a lot of bad weather in Cleveland. There were excuses, there were drops. But then he went on a little bit of a run against the Bengals. Then he had another horrible game against the Steelers. And then he played well against the Colts. He played well against the Dallas defense. And then he played well against he played okay against the Washington defense. And then he played well again versus Cincinnati. And then he stunk.
I remember that game.
He was bad versus the Ravens in the closer. Or maybe he didn't play in that. I don't know.
You know what's interesting about that?
He was bad statistically. But what I'm saying is there were only a handful of good games last year for Baker. Only a small handful. Yeah. And Baker and Browns fans will act like it was not the case, that he was consistently excellent through all of last year. He was not. He was only good for a small handful of games against padded his stats against the Bengals a little bit. He is in such a good situation for a quarterback. The offensive line is so stellar. The running game is like the best in the league. He's got Odell back, who is capable of great things still. I think that he is capable of a lot of the things Stephon Diggs is. I think he is not. The gulf between him and a guy like Amari Cooper or Diggs is not as big as people think it is when you look at his ability as a route runner and his catch radius and his overall smoothness playing the wide receiver position. He's got a good wide receiving core. He's got good everything. And how many great quarterbacks have horrible days like Baker did today when everything else is working so well for them, And if he's getting anything over $35 million a year, it's just over for the Browns. Point blank, simple. That, in my opinion, that is just my diagnosis.
The thing about it is that we could sit here and argue whether or not you should pay a great quarterback money like that. Because once you're paying the quarterback big bucks, even if they're worth it, it puts such a strain on getting the rest of the roster to be Super Bowl level, if that's ultimately your goal.
And what happened, or Matt, keep going.
That's why you see most Super Bowl winning teams, Super Bowl winning teams have quarterbacks on rookie deals or have,
Brady taking
the Eagles pay cuts. Or taking pay cuts. Yeah, Brady's another good example of that. That's why that was so important for them. So if you're paying a guy huge money, it's a risk. And if you're paying a guy huge money and he's not worth it, that's it. Right now, the Browns are very good. But a lot of that comes from they haven't yet had to pay Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward and Baker Mayfield. And once you have to do all that stuff, all of a sudden these like John Johnson and Jadeveon Clowney pickups that they get in free agency, they're not going to happen anymore. You're not going to get to keep Kareem Hunt. So
and what happened to like the QB deal that wasn't resetting the market? The last one I can kind of remember is like Tannehill, who got if Baker would just sign for like $20-something million a year, which is probably what he's maybe worth, kind of something in that range. Same thing with Daniel Jones. I think that Daniel Jones, the way he has looked this season, I would take him over any of the incoming rookies from this draft class. Daniel Jones has looked like one of the better players on the Giants team. Is he worth all this money? Like, probably not. I still don't think that. Will he take a deal soon that's like maybe not breaking the bank, but is still a deal and not letting him walk somewhere else? Because it seems like those are your only two options nowadays is like reset the market or
Jameis Winston contract.
Right, exactly. There's like no in between. So I'd like to see someone like Baker or someone like Daniel Jones.
So this is literally this sounds bad, but I think it's the truth. The Browns are literally in Baker's hands right now.
Well, the problem is, and that's exactly it, the Browns would be worse if they let Baker walk. They're not in a good signing Baker to a huge contract puts them in a bad spot to win a Super Bowl, but they would be worse the next year.
The Browns are worse if Baker walks, but they're also worse if they sign him to a $40 million deal.
But they put themselves in between a rock and a hard place if they sign him for that money, especially if they're also going to have to sign Ward, and they already don't have a ton of cap space, and it's already not like the roster is completely perfect. And there's some things you can do. Like obviously, I think I just thinking about their cap. Jarvis Landry, $15 million, probably a cap casualty. But it's an interesting salary cap question for them is what they're going to do with that. They'll probably re-sign him because I think you lose the locker room. And I'm not saying that's the wrong decision when you've gone 20 years without a franchise quarterback and you're going into a draft class that you won't have a high pick in and it isn't very good for quarterbacks.
Hey, now, don't talk about Matt Corral like that.
Ritter's the only exception in my book. But it's just this is why NFL windows, like your window to win a championship, is a lot smaller than people think it is because the salary cap can catch up to you quick. And all of a sudden, the guys who are winning you a bunch of money, like Garrett and Baker, are now the guys who you have to pay $1 billion.
And it's why quarterbacks aren't as valuable as I think a lot of people think they are. Like, I think with a lot of analytics attaches the kind of responsibility to the quarterback position that makes it seem like they're the only guy out there, like you absolutely need one. And that's kind of the prevailing mindset right now is that you absolutely, no questions asked, have to sign your quarterback when you get him. You just cannot let him walk for anything. So I don't quite agree. I think
it'll
with
be
that.
interesting. I think it'll be interesting to see because this is going to fall again. This is going to fall on Baker. Is he going to ask for that like $40 million resetting the market type of deal, or is he going to because he's going to sit down with his agent and they're going to be like, we can get you like a $45 million deal here or elsewhere.
But maybe he can't. Honestly, I don't think it's a guarantee that NFL teams are just idiots who are going to sign him for $45 million a year. I don't think that's a guarantee at all. I think that it's possible that if Baker looks like he has for the quarter of the season, for 4 quarters of the season, I don't think it's safe to assume at all that NFL teams are going to be I think he's worth $40 million. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that he does sign a little bit of a lighter deal.
If the Browns are in the AFC Championship.
And then Browns fans would be like, look at him taking that pay cut because he loves the city.
Think about Nick Foles. How much did Nick Foles get after the Eagles won the Super Bowl?
Oh, I don't know.
I want to say he got that. Didn't he get a weirdo poison pill contract? I could be totally wrong.
I don't know. I just know. All
right, I'm looking it up right now. What do you think it is?
I think it's going to be 17 or 18.
It would be. Oh yeah, I forgot. So after the Super Bowl, once his Eagles contract ended, Jaguars. Totally forgot about this. 4 years, $88 million.
Yeah.
And that's honestly the kind of deal that Baker maybe could get. Maybe a little bit more than that.
But the thing is, Nick Foles is Nick Foles, right? He was coming off, this is 4 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Baker goes through the entire season and then they go into the playoffs and they even get to the AFC Championship game, I think he's getting at least 35.
It might sound stupid because what everything logically would tell you, there's more to being a good quarterback than just like winning a couple playoff games. But if the Browns are in the Super Bowl versus the Browns losing the first round, yeah, it makes the world of difference.
Exactly. It's and like, even though I disagree with that logic, but that's the logic that a lot of people follow.
It probably is. The other thing to remember, though, is that Baker is in his 4th year, not his 5th, and they could always franchise tag him. And if I had to guess, I think the smart move would be, obviously, as the extension, franchise tag him, and then you figure it out. But it depends on how he looks, honestly. It's a tough decision. And it depends on what other options you have. I know some Browns fans will probably hear this as blasphemy or whatever. And fair enough. This is the most we've ever talked about the Browns. Like, that is not. What are you talking about? Browns have got to be maybe the most talked about team on this podcast.
Yes, and let's bring it to a different team on that note.
Okay. Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about the 49ers game, and not only Trey Lance making his debut, but I want to talk a little bit about training staffs, which is not a sexy thing to talk about at all. But with Jimmy Garoppolo going down again, and Javon Kinlaw went down, and Verrett has gone down for them already, and Raheem Mostert has gone down for them. And last year, they had, obviously, an obscene amount of injuries. I question what they're doing with their medical staff down there. And Bladen, you're a former high school athlete more than me and Matt were. I played soccer for a little bit in high school, but you were the real 4-year athlete. Matt, did you play sports in high school?
Well, I'll say this. I played ultimate frisbee.
Okay.
And we had no medical staff. I broke my foot.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yes. But Bladen, I think you can speak the best on this. Is the athletes have opinions on the training staffs and like how their injuries are getting processed.
Well, first of all,
some training staffs can be better than others.
Different. Yeah. In high school, it's a little bit different because the entire high school shares a training staff.
Right.
It's not like the football team has a training staff. So usually your recovery lies more on like your own personal ability to actually do the recovery. And it also falls a little bit on like your coaches to make sure they're not overtraining you or trying to rush you back too soon. That being said, I think preventative measures are probably more helpful than like how you recover from an injury.
Yes.
Right? Like there are a lot of I'm going to give a very vague example. There was a time when I was working out and a bunch of other people were working out and they were doing we were all doing different workouts. There was a group of us that were doing one set of workouts and a group of us that were doing like band workouts, but they weren't like lifting. All of those people that didn't lift got injured. Every single one of them. Right. There are different. One of them tore their hamstring. The others all had various hamstring problems. But like those kind of things matter.
Right. What I'm saying is like, yes, high school and the NFL is very different, and the NFLs are professionals and obviously better than any high school staff. And I'm not implying they don't totally know what they're doing, but medical staffs, you can have a bad medical staff or a worse medical staff than other teams. Like it is different across. You saw this a little bit with the Jazz in the playoffs. Right before there was some issue like with Donovan Mitchell. He didn't play against the Grizzlies early in the season or early in the series in the playoffs. And the Jazz were kind of like, what the hell is going on? And that's just like something with the medical staff. And that's a decision they made. And the decisions are all different. And the training regimens are all different. And when you've got a team like the 49ers, I do question like, maybe it's time to move on from that medical staff.
If it's year after year, that can't be a coincidence.
When you've seen this, and I want to give like teams that are healthy,
even in 1 year, I don't think it's a coincidence.
And it's like this also gets back. I'm going back to the NBA, and this might be totally out. But like the Suns were healthy throughout their finals run and played a bunch of teams that weren't. And it was a weird year, a short off season, the COVID year. And you get kind of with a condensed season a little bit. And the Suns were the healthy team and they got shit for it. They're like, oh, Mickey Mouse, only everything else is injured. Every other team is so injured. But I think if you're the Suns and you're the Suns training staff and you're the Suns medical staff, you look at that and you're like, this is our work. that we put in, and we're proud that we're healthy because we did things maybe a little bit differently, and our program worked and everyone else didn't.
Yeah.
But from the outside, it just looks like maybe random luck. And a lot of injury is random luck, but I am saying it is weird the 49ers have so many injuries. So
I think
that's my takeaway from this game. And Garoppolo, who's been hurt NBA, every year that he's been at the 49ers, and Raheem Mostert, who's been hurt every year he's been with the 49ers. And anyway.
I think with the NBA, it has more to do with the players you get. An NFL roster is made up of 50 people. An NBA roster is made up of like 10 that actually play. And a lot of it comes down to certain players are injury prone. And if you invest in injury prone players, you're rolling the dice. You're running that risk, and you have to know what you're doing. I think the Suns, it's probably a mix. They got a little bit lucky at times and whatnot, but also, a lot of their guys are younger, and being younger helps with injury stuff. That's, if Kevin Durant goes down with the injury that Giannis did, he probably doesn't come back as quick because physically he's not where Giannis is. And you see, Brooklyn, for example, Kyrie Irving, great player. He's a lock to get injured at this point almost. And I remember feeling the same way to go back to football. You guys remember Tony Romo? Yeah. In his last year? You were like, I remember him coming back, and I'm like, there's just no way he stays healthy. There's no way he makes it through the season. It just can't possibly happen. So I think it's a mix of maybe not necessarily it could also be the training staff or whatnot, or the medical team, but also, how every time in the draft, when a team picks a guy who has really high upside but he's injury prone, everyone's like, oh my God, it's a steal. I wonder if there's a correlation between teams that care about that and teams that don't versus like how often they get injured.
Yeah. And that's a good point, because the 49ers, it's the same deal in the end. And like at this point, we know that Jimmy G is injury prone. We know Raheem Mostert is going to get hurt. It's just kind of a question on when. So, and I just don't know how much blame do I put on just their bodies being bad or the 49ers training staff. It's just weird.
The thing with football. Football is a contact sport. If you're already injury prone, your chances of you getting injured again in football,
the 49ers built a team with Jason Verrett, Garoppolo, Mostert, you know.
And then what they go do?
And then they
Trey
all got
Sermon,
hurt.
broken collarbone, and they went and drafted him 3rd round.
They don't care about injuries, and this is what happens to them. So 49ers fans will bemoan, oh, we're hurt. Like, you can't give anyone. Yeah, and every fan base would. But I guess what I'm saying, whether it be the way you build your team or the way you train your team, it's kind of on your team to keep it healthy a little bit.
There's less luck involved. It's not always like it's some luck, but not entirely.
A lot of it is luck, but it's not entirely luck. Is what I'm saying about the 49ers.
I would say most of it's not luck.
Anyway, talking about Trey Lance now, I did watch all of his plays. Weird. That's the way I would describe. I don't know if you guys got a chance. I
didn't get to watch most of the 49ers.
Every play that Trey Lance was involved in was an adventure. That's the way I would say.
I did see a good. He got all of them, but a good amount.
He got a snap, and it was like no plan, no thoughts. Just he was waiting around the pocket, running all over the place, just doing crazy things. Nothing was easy. And that being said, he played pretty okay. Like he had almost 10 yards per attempt. He had 2 touchdown drives.
No picks.
Led the team in rushing.
Led the team in rushing. He took 0 sacks, which is impressive considering how much he was, doing crazy things in the pocket and running by defensive
linemen. It says on ESPN he was sacked once for a loss of
1 yard.
Yeah. Okay. I saw 0 on Pro Football Reference. But still, you expect the way he was playing, I thought he would get sacked more times than preseason. So it's nice to see no picks, no sacks. Here's my thing with him. He's going to need really good wide receivers because the way he throws the ball is really hard. He just whips it as hard as he can all the time. And his accuracy is such. So even when he throws a catchable ball, but not or an on target ball, but not the world's most catchable ball. Like it might be just like up here when it should be right here. like up above their head a little bit when it could be right on their body. And when you're throwing it that hard and your placement is just a little bit harder than it needs to be, it's just really difficult to be a wide receiver. And I think he's got a decent wide receiving core right now with Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. I loved A.J. Brown and I love Deebo Samuel for all the same reasons. They're very similar. And Mohamed Sanu's a vet who made some tough catches today. And Kittle obviously is Kittle. He's got a good wide receiving core right now. But he's definitely, for now, until he gets a little bit more touch, I think he's going to kind of need to get.
Now, here's a question, because again, I didn't get to watch a lot of this game.
Yeah.
Kittle was targeted 11 times.
Yes.
Was that mostly Garoppolo or mostly Lance?
I think it was mostly Garoppolo.
Because he only had 4 catches.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't always accurate when it came to Lance, that's for sure. I guess I didn't totally notice who the passes were going to, but I thought it was probably, I would bet that over 50% of those were Garoppolo. Little trick play for the Patriots here that puts them in the red zone.
I see the Bucs are up 2 right now.
It's really sets up the Brady game-winning drive, doesn't it? Which I saw people predicting in the first quarter.
I'm impressed with that Belichick and the Patriots, because it's not just Bill Belichick versus Tom Brady out there. But I've been impressed with the Patriots defense to even keep it this close at all. And although Brady has not been sharp in this game, tons of overthrows, underthrows, off-target passes.
It's interesting. Tom Brady has played in, 10 Super Bowls?
Yes.
Do you think this game has more pressure?
No.
Than those Super Bowls?
No. Come on. He beat the record, the all-time receiving yards record, or receiving. He can't catch. We know this from the Eagles game. We knew this from the Eagles game. The all-time passing yards record, and the game just kind of moved on. I think at this point in the game, I
just feel like this is a really big game for
Ooh,
I kind of think it's not. It's like
it is a big game, but once he got in it,
who would care in 2 years?
Yeah. Once he got in it and the pre-game, he said hi to everyone on the Patriots sideline and they showed a little tribute. After the game, as this game is drawn on, I doubt that he's feeling the same kind of pressure as he would.
I'm just saying.
It's week 4.
He's played in 10 Super Bowls. This is the only time in his entire career that he will ever get to play the New England Patriots.
Yeah,
unless he plays till he's 50.
It's a Super Bowl ring is a ring. This is a regular season game.
I'm just saying this.
It's probably about. I mean, there were probably games against Peyton Manning that meant more to him than this. At this point, he's kind of solidified himself.
What's going to happen to his legacy if he loses this one?
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not about his legacy. Maybe he just wants to win this one for him.
He probably does, but he probably wants to win. Obviously, he wants to. This is not bigger than a literal Super Bowl. This is one of the bigger regular season games that he's played probably, but as this game has gone on, I don't really get the intensity that I do from a Super Bowl, and I
think he retires if he doesn't win this one out of
anyway. It's been a closer game than I thought. I thought, talent wise, the Patriots looked a little bit overmatched on paper, and they just took
especially the way Mac Jones played against a good defense.
Yeah,
already.
So anyway, good game. 4 minutes left. Bucks down by 1, getting the ball. So
speaking of games I didn't expect to go a certain way, the Cardinals beat the Rams.
Yeah, they're the best team in football right now. The Cardinals.
They are.
They're playing
it's interesting. Again, this is the second game in a row where we've talked about could this, kind of set the MVP narrative.
Yeah,
is Kyler now the MVP favorite?
And it did. Yeah, he is now. That's how it works.
I mean, look, Kyler played really great. But you know who else had a good game today?
Oh my God, Van Jefferson had a stupid touchdown.
I literally. Zach and I were watching the game, and Stafford threw a touchdown. He was like, "Was that Robert Woods?" I'm like, "No, it was Van Jefferson. He's on Matt's fantasy team. I'm going to hear this on the podcast."
He's on my fantasy team, baby. Fantasy team killed it. I had DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin, and Tyreek Hill combined for 7 TDs.
Bladen, did you ever ask? Did you ask Bladen?
You can't let me be happy and enjoy things.
Did you ask Bladen?
I didn't even bring up the fantasy team. Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm very confused. I don't know what's
going on. Bladen, did you ask Matt about his fantasy team?
No.
No, neither did I. So I don't know why we're talking about it. But it's like
because Bladen brought it up. Dumb.
I brought it up, but like,
you did ask.
Yeah,
right, okay.
I didn't ask. I just brought it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my bid is destroyed. But putting this back on track, the Cardinals are the best team in the league, and a lot of it has to do with their secondary being pretty good, and Byron Murphy really taking the step that he needed to take, and all the aspects of their team is elite right now. Really, their pass rush is good, their run defense is pretty good, their pass defense is all right. Like their running game is really good, their passing game is super strong.
They were running the ball really well,
and James Conner was exactly what I hoped he would be and the thing they were kind of missing last year. Belichick broke them last year. They had that horrible game versus the Patriots, and then ever since then, teams just played them in dime, and they had no one to run over the light boxes. They had no one to do it. Now they have James Conner, and they do. And now they added Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt, who they didn't have last year, and their whole secondary has kind of taken a jump. They're great. They're fantastic. Do you think they? Yeah.
I was just going to say, who else has low-key been playing all right? Sneakily.
Isaiah Simmons?
Green.
AJ
AJ Green is, I can't lie. When AJ Green was in his prime, I was a big AJ Green guy.
He was like 90% of what Julio was, or maybe he was more, awesome, like 95%. He
never quite got the respect he deserved. But after last year, I can't lie. I thought he was, he looked awful.
Toast.
But he's playing a lot better now, and they've got very good receivers.
Yes, everything about him, like Connor and Edmonds and Kyler, are all like a good 1, 2, 3 punch. Wide receiving core is loaded. I didn't like Rondale Moore as kind of a traditional wide receiver running routes downfield, but he landed in that perfect situation.
Even Christian Kirk has been kind of a slept on weapon.
Yeah,
for them.
He's been really good. Everything about them is clicking right now, and
which really, Theo, I know you're getting a lot of respect for this. I posted a video.
I'm not getting a lot of respect for this. But
you're getting some respect for it.
Yes.
I posted a video a while ago that got only 20,000 views where I said Cliff Kingsbury is a dark horse coach of the year candidate.
Yeah, I said he was a genius and like a top 5 head coach in the league before last season.
That's
I called it. I was raving about. It was one of my first ever TikToks. And I'll be honest, I lost a lot of faith in that take when Belichick broke them and they refused to adjust, and their route combinations were so basic and boring. And I watched their game against the Rams, and I wanted to stick forks in my eyes because it was the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life. So I was like, okay, that was a bad take. My Cliff Kingsbury one. But now he looks like he's engineered a really good offense again. So I guess it's aged well in a weird way.
Yeah.
My Cliff Kingsbury take was basically, given a full off season with those kind of weapons, I guarantee he comes up, because they just ran a bunch of hurry up last year. That's all they did. They just ran a bunch of hurry up, and I was like, give this guy an off season to work. There's got to be something there. There's got to be something.
Our producer just said, can you talk about the Jets beating the Titans in overtime and Zach Wilson? And this is the part where I break out my bottle of Fireball and I drink it before talking about it.
I want to give you some crap for this, because you're always the guy that's like, I root for teams that play for ties. I root for ties in overtime.
Yes, of course.
The Titans lining up to kick a field goal to tie the game instead of trying to win the game is the worst move I've ever seen.
It was 4th and 10 with 19 seconds left.
I don't care.
Yeah.
You got to kick it.
No, that's a W.
No, that's a
no.
L.
You don't play for the tie. That sucked to watch.
You don't play to tie, but in that situation, you should play to tie.
They play. Hey! I'd rather play to win and lose than play to tie and lose.
What are the odds that you score from like 30 yards out?
Guess what? You missed the field goal.
I know, but you're not going to score there.
You're the right play there. Win percentage wise is probably to kick the field goal. I like ties because they're rare, and I like rare things to happen. I always cheer for safeties because they're fun.
Here's your thing. This is why I don't like your take on ties. Is you're like, I always cheer for chaos, and because ties never happen, that's chaos. It's not chaos. A game-winning kick, a game-winning touchdown, a game winner, something in overtime.
Yeah, a game-winning touchdown would be much more
chaotic than the game just coming to an end without a winner or loser. That's like,
that's funny. I don't like it because it's necessarily like, I just like unlikely things to happen. I think it's funny. If you're watching a college football game, you know what you're cheering for in overtime? Another overtime. Because it's funny. The more overtime,
there is no other.
I agree with rare, so I want it to happen.
No,
right? It's just I feel like
you know what else is rare? Alex Smith injury, blowing his knee out, almost dies right there on the field.
No way you're comping that.
That's rare. Doesn't mean it's good. Take. No, this is the right take. So a player dying on national television, Sunday Night Football, a player gets carted out in a hearse. That's never happened before. Are you rooting for that, Matt?
A player. Well, what the fuck are you talking about?
I'm talking about just because how it's rare.
Alex Smith to die on the field.
That's what you want because you're like, oh, I love rare things. I don't care what it is. A tie is an objectively bad thing to have happen.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's objectively meh.
No one likes it.
No one likes players. Not objectively bad in the way that a player getting injured is. That's an awful take.
No, a player dying is bad. A tie is also bad. Just a little bit less bad. But you can't just root for a bad thing. No, that's what I'm saying.
I think it's a good thing because it's so rare and it doesn't hurt anybody.
All right, it hurts. It hurts everyone watching at home.
It's so funny when your friend will be like, "What's their record right now? Is it 6-4?" You'll be like, "Nah, they're 6-3-1, dude. They tied." I love that. I don't know.
That's dumb. See, I took my fireball shot, and I'm talking about ties and Alex Smith dying on the field.
I don't know. I do not like the idea of like lining up to kick for a tie, and then you lose anyway. Right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's bad, but they shouldn't have. What should they have done? A Hail Mary? A Hail Mary?
I would rather throw a Hail Mary. I would rather throw a Hail Mary, and then if I lose that way, it's like
it's horrible. What if it was 4th and 50, and like I don't know, like there was no chance there was next to no chance they were scoring a touchdown there. Like I get playing to win, but they were not winning that game. They were either tying or losing, and in that case, you should kick the field goal. Like I don't hate ties that much.
That's a loser's mentality.
It was 4th and 10. Anyway, talking about Zach Wilson, he looked inconsistent, but that is better than consistently bad, which is what he had been in the previous games. There were some really good moments.
This is also a very bad defense that he played.
Yeah, but good throws are good throws no matter.
It's a very bad offense he's playing on.
Right, exactly.
Fair.
You know, if you roll out to your right and you throw a bomb 50 yards down the field on the money and the cornerback was all over your guy, you know, it doesn't matter if that's the Titans or the you know, what's a team with a good secondary right now?
The Cardinals.
The Cardinals. Yeah.
You were just praising their secondary, man.
The Cowboys against Trayvon Diggs. Anyway, it doesn't matter. A good throw is a good throw. And Zach Wilson was making some very, very good throws tonight. But he also had a pass to Corey Davis that would have ended the game right then and there, wide open, that he missed. And he also had a pass.
He had a really bad pick.
Yeah, he had a bad pick.
He's having some awful interceptions.
Apparently Corey Davis
I guess he slipped. He may have slipped. I haven't seen the all 22.
We haven't seen the all 22 of that. But apparently Corey Davis slipped. But I paused the clip, like right as I don't know who the DB was in that play, but the DB was like, as the DB's closing, I'm like, let's say Corey Davis doesn't slip. The DB is still there. I don't think that maybe it's not a pick, but that's not complete.
I'll have to see more replays until I know how bad of a pick that was. But what I do know is that the miss to Corey Davis was bad. That would have won the game.
Yes.
And then they were in the red zone, and he completely malfunctioned, and he was rolling out, and there was a tight end leaking, and if he would have hit the tight end on this little check down, he probably would have somersaulted into the end zone if he wanted to. Crab walked there with the ball on his stomach. But he just underthrew him, and that was a really bad pass. 2 passes that could have ended the game that were missed. And it ended up not all working out, but there were some high highs and some very low lows with this game from Zach Wilson.
The other thing I want to bring up is these comments that we've been getting on our lock predictions every single week. They're relentless, and it's the same goddamn thing every time. It's always like, why didn't you pick this game, and this game, and this game, and this game, and this game? The way the game works is that we have to get them all right. And I think it's so funny. Every week, somebody will be like, you guys are idiots for not picking this team to beat this team, and then they lose.
Yep.
Every single week it happens.
It was the Jets.
Oh, it was multiple. It was that. We didn't pick
the Saints. Yeah.
I responded to that comment. I was like, I'm not going to lock the Titans to beat the Jets because the big thing with the Jets is their O-line's bad. And if they play a good defense, yeah, they'll probably lose. But the Titans aren't a very good defense. So I was
whenever they were missing Julio Jones and AJ Brown, two of the best players in the entire league are not playing. We saw what the Browns did last year when they were playing the winless Jets.
Yeah, with no receivers.
Yes. So yes, that would have been a stupid lock. And so would have the Saints. And I'm dumb because I wanted to bet on the Giants, and I was like, I had that in mind to do it, and then I never got around to it. I'm like, oh, the Giants won.
I can't believe so many people were adamant about locking the Saints.
Yeah, I don't know either. They need Michael Thomas back. They need a reliable wide receiver one. They really do.
They do.
Michael Thomas is sorely missed on that team. For sure.
That's what I've been thinking. But I just think it's funny that every week that happens. You just can't lock. You can't lock 5 teams. You can't do it. I'm going
to complain about one thing, and that is, my locks are also I went 3 for 3. Yeah. The Bucs just took a lead here, so you guys might go 2-2 unless Mac Jones can engineer some magic here. But the comments that I hate even more are on my upset videos, and they're like, these upsets aren't upset enough,
Yeah.
Like
this isn't a 14-point spread.
Like, people don't want us to pick favorites that are too much the favorite, because when we're picking our locks and we pick like big favorites, they're like, oh, how boring. You should take teams that are not locks as your locks, and it's like that kind of defeats the point. And then I have my upset things, and I pick like maybe upsets that are kind of more toss-ups, or I pick teams that are not huge underdogs, and people are like, why? Those are barely even upsets. And it's like, what? The only thing people want us to pick are like the absolute bottom feeders to win. Like, they won't be impressed until we have a good record.
You needed to pick Houston to beat the Bills.
I needed to pick the Jets to beat the Titans. That's what I had to do.
Yeah, we had to pick that, and if we weren't on that, it's.
And then, but if you pick that, then even that, just as many hate comments about people like, well, you're an idiot for picking that. I hate you now. I knew this guy didn't know football.
And then when you're right, and if we did do that and we were right, it would have been like, well, they were missing AJ Brown and Julio. Everyone knew. That's the other thing with me. There's the cycle. It's like, when I get a take right, people will be like, well, everyone knew that was going to happen. Like, after the fact, like if the Broncos make the playoffs, no one's going to give me any. I sound like Livia Soprano. No one cares about me, but it's true. It's like, no one's ever happy with our locks. No one's happy with my upset picks. I'm 7-1 picking straight up money line on underdogs, and people are like, they're not underdogs enough. I picked the Lions to beat the Bears, and that gets us into Justin Fields' performance.
Baby. He balled out, baby.
Yes, he did. And Bill Lazor
season.
What I really want to talk about is how Matt Nagy once again gave up play calling to Bill Lazor, and once again it was a massive upgrade. This happened last year.
To be fair, they played Detroit.
To be fair, they put up 1 yard net passing yard last week, and then this week.
But Justin Fields didn't get sacked 9 times.
But the difference is they went from playing the best team in the NFL.
Stop.
To the Detroit Lions.
Stop. You just called the Cardinals.
Why did you drink all my Fireball, Bladen? Anyway, and it was after the game. Justin Fields said, Bill Lazor, he's just so calm when he's giving me the plays. I like that about him, how calm he is. Matt Nagy, he's got so many things to worry about. He isn't very calm, but he's still delivering the plays. Yeah, he pretty much just said like
he's an uptight idiot. Damn.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much what he said. Like he obviously was like said it in a very nice way, but pretty much the sentiment was Bill Lazor's delivering his play calls nice and calm. Matt Nagy wasn't doing that.
Well,
that's tough.
You know, good for Nagy on giving that up. Fields,
he did take it back last time though, so maybe he'll take it back again. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. Maybe he will.
And that's the thing. Everyone was like, "Oh, Justin Fields is ruined." Wait, that's I didn't want Justin Fields to play against the Browns because I'm like, that O-line's bad. They're playing. They're going to be playing Myles Garrett, and Jadeveon Clowney's not an elite pass rusher. But if you have to double and triple team Myles Garrett, Clowney's going to get some pressures.
Oh, they weren't even. They were putting like. They were not double and triple teaming Myles Garrett. That was the problem. They were putting Cole Kmet on him, and Jadeveon Clowney was just beating 74, the right tackle, on inside moves all day. Like they were not double triple teaming anyone.
They're all. But that was just losing. Like I'm just like I was like looking at the schedule. I'm like, this is going to end so poorly because if they double team or triple team Myles Garrett, trying to stop Myles Garrett, Clowney's going to have the time of his life. But like. But that didn't happen, and they just got after it. And I just really I didn't want to see Justin Fields go against the Browns. I was like, this is going to be brutal.
And also part of it,
him go against the Rams.
Everyone deserved blame. That was my take from the Cleveland game. Yeah. Like people were completely excusing Fields and being like, none of this is on him. And my take was like, it's everyone's fault. Nagy should be fired. Like everything is bad, including
Nagy should have
Fields.
Been fired.
He made the playoffs, so I can kind of see keeping him on. But
I've actually got a take kind of about this stuff I was thinking about today in the car.
Go for it.
Every fan base does that. Every time your team is bad or has a bad game, it's not the entire offense. It's not the quarterback and the offensive line it's one unit or one player, because it's a lot easier to say, well, this one thing is bad. If we fix that, everything else will be better. Oh, it wasn't just our quarterback was bad. It was, the offensive line was bad, and that ruined everything else. And to some extent, that can be true. But it's a lot easier to convince yourself as a fan base you can improve quickly if you convince yourself it's just one thing. It's one guy.
I feel like you're calling me out right now, Matt. I feel like
Browns fans are an example of that. We talked about, I think, last episode, but every team does that.
It's teams with young quarterbacks. Teams with young quarterbacks, there is a grace period that young quarterbacks have where nothing is their fault. Mm-hmm. And to an extent, Fields was on the bottom of the totem pole of blame for the Browns game. Like, if you're a new guy and you don't train the new guy in properly, and the new guy doesn't perform, like, it's not like the new guy's a total idiot, at any job. It's like,
right.
And this is why I have become a sit quarterbacks for a year guy more than a throw them in guy. I don't care what your job is. The more time you have to learn it, the better you're going to be at it, Like,
right.
I
worked at you also have to just do it.
Yes. I worked at a pool. I worked at a public pool when I was, I think, a sophomore in high school. And I got no training. I received zero. And the first day of being at the pool is always the busiest day because that's when everyone comes in and they sign up for their membership. And there's a computer and there's a very specific way and a program that you need to enter in all this data to get the membership into a little key card that they can just scan in. They did not teach me this, and there's a line out the door. It would have been better if they teach me. Like, the more you get taught, the better it's going to be once you make your debut. And Fields obviously had a little bit of time to sit, but it's like, I don't know, something like it wasn't.
We all agree that
the new guy. The new guy is at the bottom of the list of blame.
Yes,
but Fields still could have been better.
The problem with that,
but today he was good. He was really good today.
It's easy in like a vacuum to say like, oh, I'd sit Justin Fields for the first year. Then like, man, Nagy's sitting there like, no, I can't just lose this season.
Yes, right.
That doesn't work because then I'm fired. So actually, Justin Fields will be playing. And I think that's what That's the same thing for GMs too.
But he was also just like, nah, man, we don't know who the quarterback's going to be.
Pretty much a game-winning kick here for New England. 56 yards, and it is up. No good. Oh, it bounced off the left crossbar.
Shoot. Brady's kicker luck is just insane. This is so tough.
This is going to be great. This is going to be great.
I'm not upset about it because
our locks.
We were going into a scenario where Theo would have gotten his locks right, and me and Bladen would have missed, and I simply can't handle that.
Here's the scenario that I like. Right, my locks hit.
Brutal.
The Browns won. And the Brady narrative is still not going to be perfect.
The Brady narrative is fine. He could have thrown 5 picks this game. Who cares?
Yeah,
I just didn't.
He may have won.
I just didn't want Brady. Brady's fans were going to be obnoxious if he went in and just annihilated the Patriots.
They would talk shit if their player played well.
Yeah, the dialogue on Bill Belichick would have been really bad if Brady came in and just ruined the Patriots, and it would have been dumb dialogue. So I am glad that we're not going to have to see all that much of it. But I mean, the Brady fans have pretty much won at this point. Like, I'm not going to fight that battle a whole lot more because I just
it's tiring.
It's just tough. It's tough to say anything else at this point. Yeah, I am tired of fighting. So, even if Brady would have lost this game, I'm not going to be the one to be like, I mean, I don't even know what I would say. Brady isn't good. Bladen, what was your plan if Brady lost?
I was just going to troll. I was honestly just going to be like,
do a little troll.
Brady was basically worthless for all those years in New England. Just be like the worst.
All right.
It would have been funny. I think it would have been
-1 rushing yard on the day.
That's
not
tough.
good.
Not good. Not
Wouldn't
good.
have happened to
not going to win a whole lot of games playing like that.
No, you're not. But
speaking of negative, hold on. Can we?
Okay.
Matt got to talk about his fantasy team real quick. My running backs in the Stay Hot League accounted for -0.6 points.
Good. 0 RB.
0 RB strategy backfired spectacularly.
That's awesome.
Nyheim Hines had -0.9 points in fantasy. And Myles Gaskin had 0.3.
That's bad. And it's not getting any better because you don't have any depth. I do have James Conner, who has scored 2 touchdowns in a row, 2 weeks in a row. And if you want to give me maybe Amari Cooper for him, maybe your season will be saved. But
what's funny is I'll look over at your team and you invested in the God Squad wide receivers and they'll put up nothing.
Yeah, that's AJ Brown is one of them.
AJ Brown's hurt. AJ Brown didn't play today, so I went and picked up Christian Kirk.
Fair enough.
I picked up Josh Gordon too. I got Josh Gordon.
0 RB. I hate it as a strategy. It's immediately eliminating yourself from a large part of the talent pool. And if you want to maybe fade running backs in general a little bit, fair enough. But to say I'm not taking one no matter what falls to me, just seems like a bad draft strategy. Keeping your options open is always better. The more things you can do, the better your draft can be.
Yeah, I mean, my fantasy team isn't much better than Bladen's.
And I didn't like the way it looked.
Yeah, all of our fantasy teams are not that good. My team fucking sold the bag so hard today.
They did.
I talk about it.
All right. Yeah, my team was also bad. I saw that you were winning, and I had a very good chance to win, and then I looked, and I was like, "Oh, that is gone."
Stafford sold the bag, bro. I was like, if Stafford has a good game,
Kamara's been kind of rough for me. Kamara has not carried my Odell. I'm mad at Baker because Odell's supposed to be my wide receiver 1, and Baker couldn't hit him to save his life today.
We warned you about that one.
It just doesn't work out between those two so far. It's just there's some days where it doesn't click. I don't know what it is. Well,
yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, Pittman dropped kind of a touchdown. Everything was bad today for my fantasy team.
Is this the first week where all of our locks are hit?
Yes, this is the first week where all
of our locks.
But I'm in the lead because I picked 3 and you guys picked 2. Matt, I'm going to let you talk about college football.
Wait, before we talk about college football,
okay, fine.
We have one more game we need to talk about. Or I guess one more person we need to talk about.
Is it a
Lamar Jackson?
All right.
Oh,
the MVP of the league.
No,
Lamar Jackson.
The MVP of the league. The league's most
he's
valuable
missed
player.
too many. He's missed. He's fumbled. He sold the bag against the Raiders completely on him. He fumbled a lot. Like, what are they? 3-1 or are they 2-2?
Yes, they're 3-1.
3-1.
I think it's Kyler.
I mean, no, it's Kyler. But I'm saying Lamar, the Ravens would not be where they are without Lamar, is my point.
No, that team has no juice on offense outside of Lamar.
I would say maybe I will make my week 5 or my post week 4 MVP takes, and he might crack it. But I would say that he would probably be number 4, number 5 more than
I would agree.
If he's 4, I'm okay with that.
Depends a little bit on how Carr plays too.
I need him to get the respect because I feel like he hasn't gotten enough respect this year.
Yeah, I mean the team around him is not good, but he has struggled a little bit in some stretches, some games, more than other guys have to be the number 1 best player in football or the number 1.
If the Steelers had Lamar Jackson, they'd be terrifying.
How about this? I've got one take for you, not involved in a quarterback, but a wide receiver. Today reaffirmed what I go back and forth on, but I'm not going to change my mind anymore until maybe years from now. But Tyreek Hill's the best wide receiver in the league. Mm-hmm. I think it's Tyreek.
He's a baller.
It's hard to argue otherwise.
And who is there's Adams, right? And there's Hopkins, and there's Diggs, and they're probably the other ones in that conversation. But I just think they all do, Adams and Diggs can do a lot of the things each other can do.
Right.
And, maybe Adams is a little bit, no one can do the things Tyreek can do. He had a play today that didn't quite score, but it got him to the 1 yard line where he caught it and just outran the entire defense.
Yeah.
It's like
no
one is getting to the 1. People are getting tackled against the Bills last year in the playoffs. He caught that pass, weaved through the entire defense. I don't know if he scored. I can't remember, but
Tyreek Hill, not even receiver. Tyreek Hill is the only player in the NFL I think that can do that.
Yeah, it's just he has the highest concentration of the speed. A lot of players are really fast, like Tyreek Hill, John Ross, whatever you want to say. But at the catch point, he's dangerous. He's so creative, as a runner. He changes directions so fast. There was a play I think he made maybe as a rookie where it was a Hail Mary against the Cowboys. And they just threw it to him before the Hail Mary even really developed. So all the Cowboys were just standing there looking at him and okay, we'll just tackle him. And then he just went through him. And he scored. It's this is ridiculous. There was that catch versus the Browns that he had I think it was maybe in the playoffs.
My gosh.
That was ridiculous. He's just a dog. He's just a dog. He just is.
And even he had that catch versus the Browns this year. Where he just caught it in front of John Johnson and then just ran the other way.
Right. I think that he's the best in the league. I really do. And there are better route runners out there, but he can create separation as well as anyone can. It's not with his route running, but it's with something that he possesses. It is with his speed. And you could say, oh, he's just fast. Yeah, really, 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 really fast.
And he's fast in every direction.
Yeah.
He's fast in every direction. He has the most diverse skill set of any receiver.
Anyway, 3 touchdowns and 180 yards today. I always go back and forth on this, if it's him or someone else. Matt says, he's on my fantasy team.
In the chat.
Everyone
put it in the chat.
Everyone is.
God bless him.
I think Tyreek Hill is number 1. I think he's number 1. Anyway, we can talk about college football now.
Now we can talk about college football. Matt, take it away.
Here's a suggestion for people. Just general life advice. I know, the public opinion surrounding Reddit is really terrible. But when your college football team wins a big game, going on the other team's football Reddit and looking at what they're talking about is awesome. Nothing beats it. And it doesn't even need to be my team winning. Just a team I don't like losing, the best.
Clemson.
And I got to say, Cincinnati gave me a very good weekend. They balled out. They had the lead the whole time. And I think we'll make the playoffs. I think it's now more likely than not that Cincinnati will be making the playoffs. I don't know if I said it on here or the green room that I do, but Oregon ended up blowing the dumb game I thought they were going to blow. And I don't know if their schedule is good enough to survive that. They have the Ohio State win, but a loss is probably more damaging.
Especially if Ohio State doesn't look as strong as they, have been in the past. Going forward, that win might lose some weight.
So it was just awesome. Ritter wasn't perfect, but I think the one thing that really strikes me about him is his poise is nuts. He's never bothered by the pressure. And when it came down to it, and Notre Dame started to come back in the fourth quarter, and it was like second and long or third and long, I don't remember, he made a very tough throw, threw a guy open, made the offense, and then ran it in for a touchdown. And that go for it.
I want to talk about how we have the power to push Heisman narratives, and I think collectively we can actually influence how these things go, because there are things that we have said that pop up everywhere because, maybe
and I know the original
see
takes
it
to us sometimes. Yeah.
Yes, and I know that there are takes that people are getting them from. I know how to make it with Ritter. I know how to make a very compelling Ritter for Heisman argument, and I don't even know that much about his stats.
The problem he has is that his counting stats are just not going to be good enough.
But no, the problem
when they end up running those graphics of the counting stats of all the quarterbacks next to each other, he does not have the weapons. He does not play the teams to do that. If he played for Ohio State, Ritter would no question be the Heisman in my opinion.
But that is the narrative that you have to take upon yourself to push, where it's like, do you really want it to be just another Bama guy where they take their recruit and they plop him in the system?
I need Bama to lose a game.
Yes, but if it's going to be Bryce Young, it's like, who is the Bama Heisman candidate this year? Last year they had two of them. Every year there's just like, if you put Ritter there, you would know damn what's more impressive, another Alabama quarterback getting counting stats, or Ritter literally turning a mid-major into a college football playoff contender. That is something we have seen Bama quarterbacks put up numbers before. We have seen Ole Miss quarterbacks put up numbers before. We have seen, we've seen running backs for Ohio State put up numbers before. We have never, ever, 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 and we may never again see a quarterback lead a literal mid-major into the upper echelon of the country. Like, that is insane. That is something that has never been done before. And that is where you make your Heisman case for Ritter, because he is throwing to guys to 3 stars, 4, maybe a 4-star if he's lucky, 3 stars. Guys that you and I went to high school, that probably you guys went to high school with over in Ohio.
Next to this guy in geometry, and now he's Ritter's
he's turning your classmates into a group that's going to have to play Alabama when they're the 4 seed in the playoffs. And it's Ritter who has turned this program into what it is. And that is your Heisman narrative. And that's a pretty tough one to argue.
Just post Theo's rant on TikTok.
But I'll say this. Ahmad Gardner's still the best player on the team. Oh my God. He is so good, dude. He is ridiculous. The confidence level I have in him is more than any player I've ever watched. I know for a fact he's going to ball out no matter who he's playing. It's bizarre. He had a great, like I said, he had a great interception.
PFF took notice of him. Drive. I saw you retweet that. Yeah.
Absolutely. He deserves all the respect in the world. I really think he's the best. I can't imagine any corner is better than him. I can't lie. I'm not studying every other defensive back. I can't imagine anyone plays better. He's let up 23 yards in 4 games on 4 catches and 50 pass coverage attempts last game. He let up 9 yards. It's just, and both are on not real passes, do
you go to the games in person?
Yes. When they're here.
Yes.
I didn't go to South Bend, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. But it's easier to tell in person with cornerback plays, since the stupid camera angle that for some reason people have decided to be the main camera angle in NFL and college football is not a good angle, and you can't see the corners. but good ones really do stand out when you're watching it.
I do know why they do that angle.
Why do they do that angle?
Or I'm pretty sure it's to be so the ball is in the center of the camera at all times. I think that's the idea.
Lame, don't care. Want to see the offensive line.
It's not a good idea, but I think that's why.
I mean, obviously there's a reason why they do it. And I think a lot of it right now is that everyone would be mad if you changed it, just because everyone gets mad if you change it. One of the most disheartening things I've ever seen is the post of it from the back where it should be, like the Madden cam.
It looks so good.
If you ever want to know if you're wrong, go find whatever topic you're debating. Go find it on Instagram. Somewhere they're going to be talking about it, and read the top comments. And if the top comments agree with your take, you are incorrect, because NFL Instagram has never been right on anything. I posted SportsCenter posted my Myles Garrett thing where he like glitched.
So that made me so mad.
And the top comments, all of them, like 3,000 likes on these things, like 10 of them.
That's just a normal
move. Everyone should just drive your foot. This is where I didn't see anything impressive. Like, literally shut the fuck up. Oh my God. This is like the most easy thing in the world to be impressed by.
It doesn't even look real.
No, it doesn't. And it's like so obviously like, okay, Myles Garrett is mutant fucking fast. And you can't even get impressed by that. Like at that point, I'm like ready to throw the whole app away. So on Instagram, I saw a bunch of people get mad because it's like, hell no, I don't want this camera angle from the back. You can't even see the wide receivers. When
you know what, though? We might have to start posting NFL content on Instagram. We would get tons of engagement. Even though it's bad engagement.
No, our fans are different.
That's true. That's true.
Our fans are different. They're smart.
They know. Yeah, they're smart.
They know what's up. They listen to us, and we know what's up. So it would be good.
No, actually, there is one other thing I wanted to talk about. If we're good, I know we said we were going to talk about college football. Actually, just my team. But I posted that tweet and asked who would be the most likely to punch a hole through drywall, and I won handily, and that is so wrong. It's blatant. If the Browns lost the Super Bowl, yes.
Wait, if the Browns lost what?
Like the Super Bowl. I can't think of a scenario where me or Theo, I can hardly think of one for none of us are like that dude. That's what makes it tough. Yeah. But I don't know the reasoning why they picked you, Theo, when like the episode before we talked about how you didn't overreact to your team.
Look at me. I've got a suit. I got the sunglasses. I've got the fireball. I am the wild card crazy one. I portray myself as kind of a weird person.
The reason you think it would be me is because you know me.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. That is
right. But like I don't portray myself exactly how I am all the time.
Yeah.
Right. So you're like fake as hell, huh?
No, I'm just like normally how I am is like this. Right? I'm mostly pretty bubbly. I'm not, and people have picked that up. I'm like a pretty happy-going guy. Right?
You're bubbly and happy-go-lucky.
Very bubbly. None of us are going to punch a hole in the drywall, but here's my take. Matt, I think it's you.
You know what? I think I'm a very close second. I am not that type of person, though. I've never done it. I've never even like come close to doing it. Neither but I can see how you would come to that take.
I would, as a kid, I would, and I probably have punched a hole in drywall as a small kid. As
then you
like
win.
Elementary school.
They were right.
No, they're not right, because that was like elementary school when I had like, I was a wild kid in like elementary school. Now I am the least likely. I think Bladed is after you, Matt, but I think I am the least likely because I think
what do you think would like have to happen
for me to punch a hole in drywall?
For me to.
Oh, for you?
Said I was the most likely.
I don't know, have a Tinder date go bad or something. I don't know, or have it go really good, and then the second one goes bad. The first one goes really good. I don't know. Matt seems to. Here's some context to this. The reason why I say it's Matt is because when I first
drywall.
No. Is the first time I ever started talking to Matt. We were talking about Mario Kart. And I was like, I'm pretty good. And then Matt sent me like voice messages and he was like, fuck you. You fucking suck at Mario Kart. And he was like, and he's like, I hate you. He's like, you dumbass.
Matt is very adamant about how good he is at Mario Kart.
I know, but it was, you are good at Mario. And it was dessert. We played in Vegas and you did beat me. Although it was close games, but you did beat me in Mario Kart. So like, but it was just like I was like, oh my God, this is quite the outburst. I mean, like, here.
That was kind of like the joke, though.
I know it isn't. No. I thought it was fun. I didn't. Obviously, we're sitting here recording this podcast today, so like I knew it was not completely serious. But it is. Matt can be a little mean sometimes, and he does not come off that way on social media because he always seems to be the most measured.
Like I'm actually horrible in real life. If you
no.
But I'm faking it.
You can be a little bit mean sometimes. You can be a little bit pessimistic sometimes.
Okay, I think the takeaway is that we're all a little bit fake on social media, but that's kind of how it is.
Every single human is.
Yeah, it's like that's how it is, right? If you don't know that, you do now. Everyone's a little bit fake on social media.
Social media, Theo, is the most likely to punch drywall.
I don't think any of us would punch a hole in drywall.
No, none of us would. That's why it was a funny question.
I do like these questions where you like ask the viewers to like psychoanalyze us. I
wanted to do some more. I almost did. I'll do another one. I have one question for you two. Okay. Yeah. So Theo, if you're a wild card, and Bladen, if you're the bubbly, happy-go-lucky one, what am I?
You're always in the middle. There's like
I'm like the straight man.
Always the straight man. Always like whatever crazy thing.
In the middle.
I think you, but that is how it is.
Have you ever heard? I'm the ultra optimist.
Matt, have you ever heard of Aristotle's golden mean?
No.
It's like how there is always like two sides. There's two emotions, like, and the one in the middle is the golden mean, and that's like the take you should have, and that's how you should act. And you are like the embodiment to me of Aristotle's golden mean.
There's always
like crazy dialogue, and then you're always like kind of come through with the more middle measured take.
Theo,
on
you
something.
can just look at how we're dressed and see this. I'm wearing a Browns hoodie, a Browns jersey, and a Browns hat. You're dressed in a suit, and Matt's just in here in like a t-shirt and a Cincinnati.
It's laundry day. Leave me alone. Look.
No, I'm just saying.
I'll take the straight man, but what I hate is that being like I understand you don't mean it as an insult, but I think a lot of the way that I've seen some people take it is like, I'm afraid to have a hot take. I'm not at all. I've been on stuff. I've talked about stuff. I've been right about stuff. I've had
you are just the most. You are very down to earth.
Of the three of us, because Matt, it's like this guy never misses. That is the comment section on Matt's. This guy never misses. This guy. I mean, it's not on every video, but no one would tell me that I never miss, and no one would tell Bladen they never miss. People disagree.
Actually, you've been getting hyped up a ton recently in the comment section.
Ooh, I don't know about that. Not recently. Not since Joe Burrow. If Joe Burrow plays bad. After the Bears game, Joe Burrow has gotten me more messages than anything, and I've drawn the ire of the app a couple times. But Joe Burrow, if you guys have been seeing a lot of Theo love, I haven't been feeling it because
I'll take being the straight man. I'll take that. I have no problem with that.
There's no shame in being the guy who's always like right. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that you are viewed
you keep
as the guy who is always right.
Your kind of job is to keep everyone else in check, and that's not a bad thing. We went on a huge tangent away from college football. And I don't think we have enough time to go back into it. Because
I'll get you guys next week.
No. We will definitely hit on college football another time.
Next week we should talk about college football, and since we're a quarter of the way through the season, I think we should make our power rankings like we did before the season. Our stay hot
for college
power
football
rankings.
Or NFL?
For NFL, I think maybe we could do it for college football too, but
maybe just top 10 for college football.
Yeah, we all submit our lists of the top 10, and then we combine it into one like stay hot top 10 teams, and that would be cool.
Yeah, I think that could be useful. But yeah, I think next episode we'll hit on college football a little bit heavier because I did want to talk about Ole Miss, Alabama. I did want to talk about how next week Penn State and Iowa play, and that's going to be a huge game for the Big Ten. But that'll be something we hit.
We got to talk. It's time. Oh,
yes.
Oh, my fault. I just wanted to say, Bladen, you're like, this game controls the narrative around Matt Corral. And then he had to they didn't do good. And you're like, never mind. No, it doesn't.
No,
guys.
No. No. I'm going to address this now then. No, you've done it. I'm going to address this.
The other thing that I think we should...
that game did affect the narrative around Matt Corral. And I made the video saying that it already happened, right? People were already knocking Matt Corral off after that game. It happened. My point was it was undeserved, right? People were comparing him to Zach Wilson. And I'm like, Zach Wilson played for BYU and that team was stacked and they didn't play anybody.
Fair enough.
The other thing we got to talk about one of these days is the NBA season starting soon, and we got to do some previews. I feel like we got to preview the NBA season.
We got to.
We got some stuff to talk about for next episode, but this wraps it up for this episode. And Bladen, you take it. You always do the answer.
You already know me, man. From Corn Boy, from what did we decide yours was again, Theo?
I thought gambling addict boy was
gambling addict boy. From Corn Boy, Nut Boy rolls off the tongue better though. That's right.
It does.
From Corn Boy, Nut Boy, and Lemon Boy, we'll catch you on the flippity flop.
Cheers.